one of the last WWF games for Sega Genesis turns out to be WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game.
I've missed you, old friend.
Yeah, we've already covered this for PlayStation 1, but you know what? We might as well see just what a 16-bit console version is like in comparison with a side-by-side comparison later on in the review.
Oh, goody goody!
For anyone who's not seen my PS1 version review, this game was loads of fun, but lacking in content and replay value. Then again, it was an arcade game, so I guess that makes sense.
Oh yeah!
Yet that doesn't hold it back entirely from being worth playing. So how well does the Sega Genesis version play in comparison? Where you have a cartridge instead of a disc. Where you only have 3 buttons instead of 4, plus shoulder buttons.
It's awful.
So enough of an introduction, let's get ready to rumble in the ring.
You can feel it too!
Right away, this game plays so much worse than the PS1 version. Color me shocked. As you have to use button combinations with the D-pad inputs. Now this might not sound like a huge deal, but if you're playing a game where a single fight takes less than 20 seconds to complete, then you're not in for a good time.
French fry when you pizza, you're gonna have a bad time.
Fast-paced combat, where you need to use button combinations in a very clunky manner, is not exactly enjoyable. But after a few attempts to play the game, I started to get the hang of things. A is punch, B is kick, C is block. A plus C is a different kind of kick. A plus B will make your guy run. B plus C is your strong attack. There might be more, but that's about all I can comprehend in time before I get wrecked by the AI that's still quite bipolar. Three buttons to pull off all kinds of combinations isn't ideal, but Genesis does what Nintendo don't. And that's offering worse controls. If I played this version first instead of the PS1 version, maybe I'd have more fun. But again, maybe I would have hated it even more. Anyways, the combat itself is still fast-paced, chaotic fun, despite controls not being ideal. I still had fun getting my ass kicked by everyone else. And then coming back with a vengeance. The AI is still bipolar, changing from pacifist to a fentanyl crack addict. Also known as your average California resident.
What happened?
It's such a jarring whiplash to go from winning matches like they're nothing to getting wrecked because the AI decided you had enough fun. Time to fucking die. But I love that fast-paced, chaotic, unpredictable gameplay. This game has the right balance of fun and challenge. It's not a burden to play through. It's not agonizingly boring. WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game, is just a good time. Everyone is still here from the PS1 version. No characters are cut. Thank God they somehow kept everyone there. Unlike the SNES and Genesis version of other wrestling games.
I'm in danger!
You got Doink the Clown, The Undertaker, Bam Bam Bigelow, Lex Luger, Shawn Michaels, Bret the Hitman Hart, Yokozuna, and Razor Ramon.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away.
No one plays any different from each other. Then again, maybe they do, but for me, it's all the same clunkiness you'd expect from fighting games on a Genesis.
Ball, we've heard it a million times. Get over it!
Yeah, you're right.
You will eventually have to fight a recolored version of yourself, which leads to situations like this. You have your two game modes here, Intercontinental Championship and World Wrestling Federation Championship. Try saying that 10 times fast.
Oh, thanks.
No thanks.
In Intercontinental Championship, you must fight several opponents through 7 rounds, 4 of which is your standard one-on-one, then 2 which are endurance rounds with 2 opponents at a time. Then finally, you got the 7th and last round against 3 wrestlers at once, which does have some slowdown. When I played the PS1 version, I never did get far. It was a combination of fatigue and the fact it was hot as balls that day. Working up a sweat just sitting there during the hot summer wasn't pleasant. If you had a fast-paced fighting game on top of that, you're in for even worse time, as you sweat like no tomorrow.
Wow! Okay!
I was tired, sweaty, hot, and a little agitated, so I didn't complete the game. So it's time to make up for that by actually completing Intercontinental Championship via the Genesis version, with its clunkier controls. It was a tough battle, but in the end, I won. So what do I get for beating the game? Maybe unlocking new wrestlers? A new game mode? A sweet ending?
Not. That's a good story.
So what about the last mode? Well, I never got far enough. 2 opponents every round was just too much for me to handle.
Pussy!
But I at least tried, but kept getting destroyed. It was just too much, and after trying a few times with 4 wrestlers and a Genesis 3-button controller, and 5 times overall, trying to get anywhere, just trying to continue, it was just not meant to be. So I just gave up. Let's move on to comparing the PS1 and Genesis version.
You bitch.
When it comes to differences between Genesis and PS1, it comes down to graphics, performance, controls, and audio quality. I noticed no difference in terms of load times or fluidity of combat, as all Mortal Kombat clones control horribly, much like MK itself.
Makes sense? You hear me? Shut up!
So whichever version you play, you will have all wrestlers and modes available. Just be warned of the graphical and audio decline in the Genesis port. Overall, I enjoyed both versions. If you could get used to the 3-button combinations. But PS1 is easily the best version next to the arcade original, as everything plays much better in the arcades than home consoles, at least from what I've experienced so far.
Okay.
Sega Genesis is mostly nails on a chalkboard when it comes to audio quality, at least from what I'm experiencing lately. I remember some games having good music on Genesis, but those are probably Sonic & Knuckles, Risk, Monopoly, Nobunaga's Ambition, and Caesar's Palace. This game has some major compression going on.
Oh, no shit.
In fact, the audio is so bad I cannot understand a single word being spoken. What is this? Virtual highlight?
And look, I have to fight the vampire again. Only this time he says something.
No, seriously, try to comprehend what Vince McMahon is saying here.
Boo! Black Magic, Dark the Clown, versus Tom Michaels and The Undertaker.
The next issue is the controls. Yes, more bitching about the motherfucking controls.
Change the channel, hurry! Where's the remote?
I just can't comprehend how sick I thought 3 buttons would suffice. Sure, in certain games, the standard controller can work. I mean, it's good enough for game show games like Wheel of Fortune, or board game games like Monopoly, Risk, or even just a Sonic game. Yet here it's not, and I'm sure if I had used the 6-button controller, it might have been better, or even not, who knows, since 6-button controllers wasn't always supported by every game. I just hate having to press and hold B and C while tapping down, down, left, right, up, down just to pull off a single move in Genesis ports.
Can I get an amen?
The game does have some slowdown during larger fights. If you have 3 wrestlers in the ring, there's a slight slowdown, but it gets way worse when you have 4 wrestlers at a time, which didn't help in the last matchup in Intercontinental Championship.
Jerry, you're getting a lot faster.
There's a small amount of options within the settings. When you're selecting your wrestler, you can change your difficulty from very easy, easy, normal, hard, and very hard, as well as the amount of life you have, disable music, and which button layout you prefer, type A or type B.
I don't know which I like more, original or type 2.
But that's it in terms of options. Also, the button layout doesn't drastically change things, so not sure why there's even a choice. But whatever, let's move on to the score already.
It's about bloody time!
At the end of the day, WWF WrestleMania the arcade game is slightly less enjoyable than the PS1 version. It's all in the controls, but also the graphics and audio quality, plus the slowdown when you're fighting up to 4 people in the ring at a time. Yet I still recommend the game. It's still WWF WrestleMania the arcade game, just a lesser version that you will need to hope for more practice when playing. Yeah, thanks Sega for such a bad controller. I only have one more game to cover. That one I grew up playing, so when I get to it, I'll get to it. Anyways, that's it for this video. See you all later.